Welcome to another episode of It's Like That Madison, where today we're going to talk about the good, the bad, the ugly home inspections.
Ooh.
Yeah, so I think it's a topic that a lot of people have questions about, and we're really excited to deep dive that with you. My name is Katie Kolakowski. I'm with City RE.
Jannea Wood with Start Company Realtors.
And Tiffany Tobias with Start Company Realtors. I'll start off because not necessarily getting into the meat of it, but one of the things that we saw, normally we do a market check, but one of the things we saw at our offices is kind of a statistic that came out over the last 2 weeks. And it was interesting that out of 53 contracts that were turned in, I think it was 64% had an inspection contingency, which that maybe doesn't sound like a lot, but if you look like prior to 2 years ago, it was, in those low 50%. So it's actually increasing somewhat of the people that we're seeing having the inspection contingencies. Now, the important part about that is of those, they weren't just a general inspection contingency. It wasn't just say we're having an inspection. Over 50% of those people had written into their inspection that they were willing to give what I would call like a buffer. They were willing to give some money where they would waive repairs up to a certain amount of money. And that money came to almost $5,000 on average that those buyers were looking to waive those repairs. So I think it shows that we're seeing inspections, but some people are being creative.
Yeah. Yep. And I think it's important when we talk about buffers to the general public or a first-time home buyer that doesn't know, it is the amount that a buyer is willing to take on with most situations, cumulative repairs. So let's just say that you have a roof and some windows and you get professional quotes and that amount totals $20,000 worth of work needed to be done. And you've written a buffer of $5,000. That means that you can potentially ask the seller for up to $15,000 if they're willing to fix that. But you're taking on that 5, you potentially may ask that seller for the 15, right?
Yeah. And it's not necessarily money they're going to have to pay out right away. I always try to let first-time home buyers know if you put a buffer of $5,000, it doesn't mean you're having to spend $5,000 right away on your house. You're just willing to absorb those maintenance items or those potential defects, whether they need to be done right away or 2 years from now.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's a great way to write a well-rounded offer and protect yourself like we're going to talk about today.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. So,
I have to say, for those watching or not watching on YouTube and just listening, Katie is wearing overalls, which is so on point for today's discussion. So
my inspection overalls.
I wear sweats when I go to my inspection.
I love it. I need a tool belt.
I know. I should have put a hammer in my front pocket. Make it a fish.
Just paint the picture.
All right. So, do one of you kind of want to talk about like what a home inspection is, and maybe maybe go into detail there? Also, like maybe what it's not. So, what do you kind of when people are saying what is a home inspection? What are you telling people?
I mean, I think, obviously it's an opportunity for our buyers to see the house on a more intimate level, right? From when they wrote the offer. I mean, I think that obviously an inspection is a third party that they're hiring to come in to take a look at all of the intricacies of the home. So, they're taking a look at the electrical, the plumbing, the roof, hopefully, depending on the time of the year. Like a lot of those big ticket items are things so they can prepare themselves for things that might need to be fixed or items that might need maintenance, after they move into the home.
Yeah, it's like a physical for the house, looking at it.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah,
I just came up with that right now.
That was well done. I'll high five you across the.
And it's running, it's running systems. So, and it does give people a chance to say, where's my shut off?
Yeah.
Like, how do these things work if they've never owned a home or they've owned 5, but they're just learning about the new house. So it's major components.
Yeah, I agree. It's good to get in there, to have a neutral party look at the house, but also too to make sure that you feel safe and really good about where you're living and you do know things. I've even seen people not understand their furnace and it's just a different furnace filter than they're used to. So something as simple seeming as that can just really come up on inspection as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, why do you ladies think that home inspections matter? Like even in like Tiffany just talked about some hot market facts, especially since we're entering spring here. Like, what do you tell people about like why inspections might matter?
Well, you want to know if there's anything major with the house. Are there leaks that are pretty serious? Is there an issue with the roof? You need to know expenses that are coming in like right now and in the near future. Because if you can't afford it,
Yeah.
that's going to be a problem.
Mhm.
I mean, that for me, that's one of the biggest factors
Yeah.
is this house a good house, and is it going to cost you money you don't have?
Mhm.
I think that's exactly it. It's kind of setting expectations
Mhm.
because, and I think you kind of hit it, Katie, because when we come into a market and we're coming into spring, there's going to be situations where we're going to have to give our buyers a choice. Like, do you want to do an inspection or not? Now, I strongly feel that inspections are very important,
Mhm.
right? And we should have them done. And certainly there's times where somebody really wants a house and they're like, hey, I'll take care of it. But like I did that on my own house that I'm in now. But I'll tell you, I had the inspection 2 weeks after I closed, and I was fortunate to have some of the funds to be able to pay for the things that came up, because if I would have known ahead of time, I probably wouldn't have offered what I had. And I certainly
Mhm.
would have had some bigger ticket items that I was unaware of. I mean, one of them being my entire roof that needed to be replaced immediately when I moved in. And those are things that can prepare a buyer.
Yeah.
I don't think we can see those things on the ground too. And I know from doing walkthroughs or listings with the two of you, we have a high care rate. So if we see something, we try to say something, but at the same time, we are not inspectors.
Right.
And
right.
so if we think something might get flagged up, I might say, hey, this grade looks like it's going towards the house. I'm not an inspector, but this might come up on inspection. Or, hey, the shingles from down here look like they're losing granules. But once again, I'm not a roofer. I'm not an inspector. So we try to point these things out. But I think what's great too is that you have somebody actually getting on the roof. You have somebody actually crawling in the attic. We're not doing that.
No,
on our
opening the furnace up.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Just
Electrical
things,
panel.
Yes.
Mhm.
Just things you cannot see when you're going through that house. And I that is why I like inspections. And I tell people too, it's just an extra layer of protection for them.
Yeah, and peace of mind for buyers too.
Mm-hmm.
So if it is a good inspection, a relatively good inspection, they feel really good about the house they're buying.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I just want people to feel comfy, as you all do too.
Yeah,
at the end of the
of
day,
course.
like, I don't want them laying in bed having regrets, staring at their ceiling, wondering why they purchased what they purchased.
Mhm.
What I've seen some pretty wild things on inspections. I think like one of the wildest things that I've seen lately, talking about opening an electrical panel, is we open an electrical panel and just a lot of mice feces came out of
Oh my
it.
God.
Oh, it just kept coming and coming and coming. And that was something that we didn't see when we originally had walked through the house. Like, what's something that you all have seen that might have been kind of shocking or just kind of something weird off the cuff?
I think the feces thing is always the one that gets me, because that's the one probably where you're like, nobody knows, right?
Yeah.
And you think about it, like the seller didn't know.
Yeah.
A lot of times that there was a mouse or a bat or what,
Like up in the attic.
Yeah. And so when the inspector will come down and they'll be like, well, here's all the holes. And then you're like, what are the tunnels? I think they call them. And
Yeah.
you're like, what are those? And then they'll be looking at the buyer and myself and be like, well, these look like, and you're like, oh gosh, that's kind of gross.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I mean, it's not like a make or break, right? I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, it's good to know, because obviously there's a remedy to that and cleaning things out and what have you. But that is always one that like catches me, because I'm like, it freaks you out, regardless of who you are and how many times you see it, is you're like, gosh, it just feels gross.
Yeah. And it was funny because when that happened, the buyer looked at me and I looked at the buyer and was like, I'll go make some phone calls about that right now. And it was like, but at the same time, it can be cured. It can be fixed. It's just how, and that's what's cool too, is we all have partnerships to make that stuff happen too.
Right. And I think what you don't want to find, and this could happen, is a bat, right? Because isn't there a protection for bats where you can only remove them at certain times of the year? Jerry's nodding her head. Like, if you find a bat, you might have to live with the bat for a while. Like, it's an occupant in your house until it can be like safely removed.
Yeah, and they remove that differently. I mean, I think there's like an enclosure and
I've had bats in my house, but we've gotten them out. I haven't found
more
one on
like they're just
inspection.
flying while you're watching a movie, right? Not like they're living in your attic.
Right.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of anything else strange that I've seen, and I just you kind of seen like common threads or trends, but nothing super crazy that has come up.
I haven't had anything real crazy
Yeah.
that I can think of.
Yeah.
I feel like Yeah, one of the things that we talked about before we got started today when we were thinking about this topic of things that came up is that so many things are workable, right? You're able to work through them with inspections. And so even though at the time it feels like, wow, this is a massive deal, it feels like when you have two parties and a listing agent and a buyer agent that are working together, like it feels like even the big issues are
doable.
There's a solution.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think who you work with as an agent and who is also across the aisle, that teamwork is so nice because there are some big expensive items that can come up and tackling it across the aisle and as teamwork is the best solution. With that being said, like expensive issues that come to mind are roof,
electrical, if there's like knob and tube wiring in the house, septic, drain fields can be costly.
Those can be expensive.
Yeah.
I did have a transaction probably 7 years ago now where the septic system had failed, and I believe it was right around $9,000. Now, luckily, we were able to figure out a way to get it done before they moved in, but that can be inexpensive.
Yeah, water,
roof, obviously.
Foundation issues. So all of that can be big ticket. The stuff that comes up all the time, GFCI, smoke detectors. These are defects, but not very expensive to fix.
Yeah, just kind of on the smaller end. We see like sellers kind of do inspections before they list also too.
Yeah.
How do you all feel about that?
I like it personally. My sellers don't necessarily always do it, but I like it when I have buyers where we can see it and you know now what's going on with the house. If it's recent, if it's from 5 years ago, that's not as helpful, but I really appreciate it. I think if I'm advising a seller, I prefer to have everything on a condition report that you can. Put it out there. Be transparent. It's going to cause more trust from the buyer. If you give me a condition report that has 0 on it, I'm already skeptical because of course there's going to be some things that you know of that might need repair. Just mention it. Wear and tear on floors, windows are older. So I appreciate the pre-inspection.
Yeah, when I walk through the house as a listing agent, I try to identify something that might scare buyers because we all do listings. We do the sell side and we do the buy side. And so we kind of hear that buyer feedback. And one of the things is like if you see a crack in the foundation, I'll have foundational inspection or specialists come out and give a bid or a quote or verify if that crack. Yeah. So then electrical too, if there's an issue like lightning has struck the house or a tree, like somebody just coming in to make sure everything feels
or an
good.
older panel.
Yes. And I think even partial inspections can really help a seller out get bang for a buck and go quicker.
Yeah, I think when buyers are going through a house, they assume things are more expensive than they really are. And I think that helps them to show them the actual cost.
And I think that's, like you mentioned cracks, that's one thing that I like when you have that third-party inspector come out, because most inspectors that we all use, are going to be able to identify pretty quickly if it's a settling crack versus if it's something that's major, and if they're going to need someone else to come in. And I think cracks are, they're scary for anyone, right? No matter where you see a crack, whether it's in the ceiling, it's on a floor, or anywhere else, you feel like, wow, that's a really big deal. But that's a great example of a reason why, a qualified inspector can say, okay, well, this is what probably happened 45 years ago and it hasn't moved since then. Or, you know what I mean? Give that kind of advice based on what they've seen.
Drywall. That's
tape from drywall. Things like that.
Yep.
Yeah, and that kind of leads me to the next point. Is like we see things that like buyers start panicking about, but then they maybe shouldn't. And I think that the inspector really comes in and educates people to what's important and what's not. And the ones that come to my mind is exactly what you're talking about, whether it's just like paint peeling, cracking,
right?
Or is it truly a foundational like rip?
Right. And, and again, I'm not an inspector, but I feel like I've been told by a lot of inspectors, it's the horizontal ones that you need to worry the most about versus, like a hairline vertical.
And also too, I always hear from inspectors and foundation specialists, is it like flush or is it starting to like slide forward and back,
Mhm.
like fore and aft. And so if you start feeling like a rift on that, I have learned over the time I try to go as much inspections as possible so I can learn as much too. Cause it's just not
absolutely.
it's just not
That's
our
what I was
area.
going to ask. Do you guys go to
Yeah,
your inspections with your
100%.
buyers?
Yeah, was just at one yesterday.
Even partial, even if I can slide, I always tell them to schedule on their own time. But I ideally am at the whole one, but if even a couple hours, like, or an hour, just to come in and see, I think it's important to know.
I think
Oh,
it's a service, like when somebody hires us in general, I could say, because I know you guys go as well, is that it's a service that, you know, I feel is part of what I'm provided from being hired is to be there for that, because it's another set of ears listening. And like you said, like buyers, especially first-time home buyers who haven't gone through that process, you know, the anxiety of going through this house that you already have an accepted offer on and feeling like, wow, this is coming up or this is coming up. It's a great opportunity for those of us when we've heard these items before. Like the inspector can say one thing, but then we can also reiterate that, like, yes, this is workable, this is doable.
Or just
like,
jump on the
really,
phone right away.
jump on the phone. Yeah, all those items or all those things that we can do immediately to kind of calm those nerves.
Yeah.
But I go to the inspections too. I mean, I've only missed 2 inspections in my entire career. There was 2 that I wasn't able to attend, and I guess both of them ended in a cancellation
Oh my
in
gosh.
the agreement. And I do think it was just a total miscommunication on all levels of just not being able to, like, really understand, not being there and hearing it and being able to talk through it.
Yeah, being their trusted advisor. With that being said, Jannea, you had a good myth for, like, myth busting
Yeah.
when it comes to inspections.
Yeah. The myth being that anything that comes up, now sellers are going to have to repair, right? No.
Yeah.
I mean,
True.
they don't have to. We can go back and ask them.
Yeah.
They might say yes to some and not others, or they can just outright say no. And then a buyer needs to decide what they're going to do about moving forward or canceling. But I think that's a big myth.
Taking on the repairs or deciding if that's their house or not.
Right.
Yeah, no, another myth that we know is new builds don't need inspection.
Oh, I did one that flagged quite a few things, actually.
Yeah. And I have some people who waive new build inspection because of the warranties. They're very comfortable doing that. But I tell every single buyer that humans build your home. And it depends on, we all have some good days, we all have some bad days, and it doesn't mean it's intentional, but humans are building your home, so it's not a bad thing. And honestly, on one of my last new build inspections, a window got flagged that got entirely replaced. And I don't think that buyer would have known, or I definitely wouldn't have known, but the buyer, I don't think would have known that needed to happen. But the inspector flagged it from the outside, and that happened. So.
Yeah, they're looking at things more detailed than we can and will. And I know the one I did, it wasn't anything that was super major, but it became a punch list actually for the builder then to do, which they were agreeable to. So I think new or old, it's important.
Another myth, if it passes the inspection, that means nothing's going to go wrong. Once they move in.
Everyone knows what has happened. You move into your house, like water heater goes, or like one of those mechanicals goes, even though it passed on inspection. It seems like always the case.
Well, and I remember one of my early transactions, the AC unit passed inspection 2 days later. They moved in. It did not. And so inspections are a snapshot of time. And I think it's important for people to know that the inspector is literally inspecting in that moment.
Right.
And so it's a house. Things can go wrong. And
and with AC, they can't test them if it's below 60 degrees.
I think it's 55. It's 55, 60.
It's somewhere in there,
They can't test the AC, which is something to keep in mind for
the
several
coils
months out of
freeze.
the year in Wisconsin.
Yeah, it's like coils freezing.
Yeah, I know I've accidentally turned my air on.
I definitely have.
Winter, and I was like, oh God.
Yeah,
I'm freaking out.
I just did it like 2 days ago.
Trauma.
Yeah, I did it 2 days ago, and my boyfriend Dan was like, "It's 48 degrees outside." I was like, "It's hot." It's hot.
It's like in our head. Don't turn it on. Don't turn it on.
Yeah.
So I mean, when you think about that, it's true though. So it's something that you can't do. And I will say, we have very talented inspectors in our area, but I will say there's certainly reasons that they can't get on the roof.
Right.
during, after we've had a winter storm or ice or anything like that, just for safety in general. So there's certain items that, depending on that, are weather related, that do play a part in that.
And they can't see through walls either.
Yeah.
I've had things come up after inspection when someone's remodeling. Well, no one knows necessarily what's going on behind the walls.
Yeah.
So there's just always an inherent risk when you're purchasing a property that there could be something, and that's what you have to keep in mind.
100%.
I would say that would be a reason why a lot of times when I'm working with buyers and even sellers is offering that home warranty. Now, I know it doesn't cover everything necessarily, that some of those unknowns, but it is a little bit of a peace of mind, especially for like an AC or some of those things that you're not using on a regular basis that can help soften the blow if something happens right after you move in or 5 months after you move in.
Yeah. Shout out to UHB.
Yeah, that's true.
Everyone's like, please break down the furnace, in the first year. Like,
let it happen. Well, I keep mine. I keep my warranty. I do it every year.
Nice.
Just because of it's the exact same reasons. Like, I don't know what's going to go wrong.
Yeah.
When and
it's
where.
true. I think it's interesting. Any closing facts, tips, hints? I feel like we quickly covered inspection, which is good.
I think it's a quick topic, and I think it's one of those things that we all feel really strongly about, right? We want to make sure that everyone feels comfortable in the process, and so it's good that we kind of threw it out there.
And I think just
reasons to do
remember
it.
it's emotional for everybody.
Yeah.
Like, this is the seller's scariest time. It's the buyer's scariest time.
Absolutely.
It's the agent's scariest time.
Yeah.
Like, we just all have to come at it from a collaborative approach, and it's going to be okay.
Yeah. Teamwork. Sounds cliche, but teamwork makes the dream work.
Yep.
All right. Well, thank you. Next episode is super exciting. It's going to be our 10th.
Celebrating.
I can't believe it.
We made it to 10.
That's great. So we'll see you next time for It's Like That, Madison.
Thank you.